everyone. The time is now 1:12 p.m. and a quorum of the board is present. The regular meeting of the State Board of Education is reconvened. Public participation. Ms. Evans, are there individuals who wish to address the board during today's meeting?
Yes, there are people who have registered to provide public comment today, and I will review the rules. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to address the board, and I will monitor the time. We will strictly follow the time limit to ensure everyone has an opportunity to speak. Please finish your sentence and conclude your comments when the timer expires. Thank you for your cooperation. It is the practice of the board not to respond to comments during the public participation segment of the meeting. We will maintain an atmosphere of respect for everyone. Anyone who disrespects another person, whether by name or in any other way, will be asked to stop. Public participation will take place both in person and online. We will begin with the individuals present today and then move to those in the queue online. The first person today in the room is Dan Quisenberry and Jack Fitch. You guys will come up to the table. Whenever you're seated and comfortable, you may begin your 3 minutes.
Mr. Superintendent and Chair Pugh, members of the State Board, I'm Dan Quisenberry with the Michigan Charter School Association. I have a very special guest here. That's why we're here together. But before I let him speak, I wanted to give you some context. So happy National Charter Schools Week. There are folks all over the state, or all over Michigan and all over across the country that are just putting attention on charter schools because we're still trying to help people understand what we do and how we do it and the remarkable things we do in education. So that's what this week is. A couple weeks ago, we were doing the same thing at the state capitol. We had 2,000 educators, board members, school leaders, families, supporters, and students at the state capitol to interact with legislators, help them experience some of the schools that we brought, et cetera. One of the main highlights of that event that we do every year is what schools refer to as a wax museum, where students will think of a historical figure, maybe Rosa Parks or Abraham Lincoln or somebody like that, and they'll study them and then become them for a day for a presentation. So because we all know how important personalizing education, hands-on learning is, we decided as an organization we should do that at our Capitol Day every year. So we had 11 students who picked a legislator and studied them and then became them and then talked at the state capitol and got to meet their state legislators. Well, today we have a very special opportunity for you because one of the students picked someone other than an elected official, and I'm going to let him speak to you at this moment.
Hi, my name is Dr. Glenn Maliko, and I'm the State Superintendent of Public Instruction in Michigan. You can just call me the State Superintendent. It's my job to work with the Michigan Board of Education and lead the Michigan Department of Education as we try and make Michigan the best state in the country for kids to get an education. I went to school at the University of Windsor and the University of Detroit Mercy, and I got my doctorate at Wayne State University. Before taking this job, I spent 10 years as the superintendent of Dearborn Schools. Besides my family, there are two things most important to me: hockey and students. And let me tell you, I love hockey. I love watching hockey, playing hockey, coaching hockey, and talking about hockey. If they wanted to build a hockey rink out on the Capitol lawn, that'd be okay with me. But as much as I love hockey, I have to say that students are my top priority. That's why I carry around this banner with me everywhere I go that says Students First. I hold it up in every picture that I take. Students First is more than just holding up a sign, though. It's about living that commitment every day. So until the Red Wings call me up to play center, I'll be here, putting students first. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Maliko. Actually, can you tell us what your real name is and who you are, maybe your school, and tell us a little bit about who you really are.
Well, my name is Jack Fitch. I go to the Light of the World Academy in Pinckney.
Excellent.
It's a Montessori school where the teachers decide where and what we're ready to learn.
What do you like about your school?
Well, it's fun because most of the grades are connected, so you get to learn from other students and the teachers.
Awesome. So it fits what you're wanting to do. And he's actually an accomplished performer, does community plays and different things like that. You got to experience a little bit of that today, right? More composed than some of us as adults speaking in front of everybody. So thank you for that. I have one. How was your experience learning about Dr. Maleko and coming to the state capitol and coming here today? Talk about that a little bit. What did it mean to you?
Well, I was really excited when they told me I would get to perform as Dr. Glenn Maleko on the Capitol steps on the one day.
Awesome.
That was fun. So I rehearsed the part, and it was fun because I got to feel like Dr. Glenn Maleko himself when I was rehearsing.
That's neat. That's great. So one last question as we wrap up. If there's a moment where Dr. Maleko, the actual Dr. Maleko, is either sick or maybe has a conflict, would you be willing to come to the state board and help lead the meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
I wonder, I should hand him the gavel right now. I mean, hey, you do a better job than
Thank you so much, everybody.
Senator Bullock. Thank you.
A real sign that says student first.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, the next person in the room with us today is Susan. Thank you, and whenever you're seated and comfortable, you may begin your 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Susan Campbell, and I'm here to speak on behalf of the teachers, families, students, parents, faith leaders across the state who are opposed to the voucher opt-in that Michigan is facing right now. Members of MEJC, Michigan Education Justice Coalition, have signed 849 letters to the governor so far, asking her to opt out of the vouchers that are being proposed, and more are signing on every day. It's a deeply unpopular proposal for many people, especially working people across the state of Michigan. Michigan has a long history of folks fighting to protect public education because strong public schools strengthen communities and give everyone, every child, the opportunity to succeed. That commitment is reflected in our 150-year record as a national leader in many areas of public education, from early desegregation efforts to voters' rejection consistently of voucher schemes. That history also matters because voucher systems were often rooted in segregation and used to avoid integration and weaken equal access in education. Michigan has repeatedly affirmed that public schools belong in public funds belong in public schools, and that those schools serve every child regardless of their ability, their religion or their lack of religion, their income, or their status as a special education student. As a mother of a child who had an IEP, I'm very concerned about vouchers siphoning money away from public goods and services to private institutions that don't have to serve these kids. And I think it's really important that we keep that in mind. The federal tax credit scholarship voucher program is attempting to bypass our state constitution by using a tax credit shell game, and it seeks to siphon billions away from the public system. Proponents are hoping that we will be dazzled by words like scholarship and tax credit and not pay attention to the reality that these are simply vouchers. They are going to take the money away from public resources, and they will primarily benefit students whose families can already afford them to send them to private schools. Dr. Maleko, this sports reference is for you. I think that's a popular thing for people to do with you right now, but basically we're in one of the toughest moments in a game right now, where everyone knows that games can be won or lost in the final moments, and right now the opponent, and in this case it's people who want to privatize schools, are nearing the end zone. We have to hold them back. We can't give it up now. This is not the time to throw in the towel. Michigan has stood against vouchers forever, and we really want you to support the resolution against vouchers. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next person in the room is Timothy Schmig. Hello. Once you're seated and comfortable, you may begin your 3 minutes.
Thank you for your time today. Thank you for the opportunity to have this hearing. As I was looking at this, I represent the Michigan Association of Christian Schools. These are parents who have chosen to put their children in educational systems other than our public schools. And when I take a look at the handout that I was given, a resolution opposing the Michigan opt-in to the federal private school tax credit voucher. It's not a voucher, it's a tax credit. And it was created under the Working Families Tax Credit Act of last July. This statement in whereas Article 8, Section 2, I believe is referring to the Blaine Amendment. And as we know, most recent court cases, Espinoza and also Trinity, has superseded any Blaine Amendment efforts in that it is possible for tax credits to be given to non-public schools. As I have researched this and talked to many of our elected officials, one of the concerns that they have is if Michigan chooses to not opt in, Indiana and Ohio have already opted in. And the people along the southern tier of the state feel that we would have another brain drain like we had in the lost decade of the 2000s, early 2000s, when many businesses, over 780,000 jobs, moved to the northern Indiana area from the state of Michigan. If somebody is living in the southern tier, we do know that taxes don't redistribute wealth, they redistribute people. And the concern that I've talked to with elected officials is they would lose students and tax base moving to states that are tax friendly. So I would encourage you, we take a look at the things that we have here. We say students first. And I believe the Michigan Department of Education should be for all students first. And then we talk about wanting Michigan to be a top tier state. Do you know in 1963, we were a top tier state? That was when this formation of the Michigan Department of Education was. Recently, depending on who is ranking them, they rank anywhere from 41st to 44th. And I think this would be an effort to get Michigan to be a top tier state again. So I would encourage you to opt in. I would encourage you to encourage the governor to opt in and to allow tax dollars to stay in the state of Michigan and not be sent to other states. So I would just challenge you with your thinking on that. Thank you for your time today, and thank you for listening.
Thank you. Next in the room is Kristen Lee. Once you're seated and ready, you may begin your 3 minutes.
Good afternoon. Excuse me. I'm Kristen Lee from Livonia, Michigan, and I do serve as the Michigan Education Director for Citizens Defending Freedom. 2 matters today. One, I also wanted to encourage opposing this resolution because as far as good governance in our state, opting in only makes sense. This is a tax incentive. Michigan families are going to take advantage of it, and they're either going to contribute to schools out of state or they're going to contribute. So it only makes sense to me that we open up Michigan so that Michigan families, Michigan students are first in the minds of Michigan taxpayers, because people will be taking advantage of this incentive. So it's a no-brainer. It doesn't make sense to me why we would not allow Michigan families and students to benefit from this. Secondly, I've been observing this board for a while, and I'm still a bit shocked and disappointed that no matter what the issue is, that when a member brings forward a resolution for discussion, that the conversation about whether or not to put it on the agenda includes discussing the matters in the resolution. That's out of order. The discussion, just vote yes to put it on the agenda and then properly discuss it during the meeting, even if you know you're going to vote it down. Like, as an educational board, please set the example of good governance and of free debate and talking about matters in the proper order, and not shutting down debate before it's even started or talking about it when you're not supposed to be talking about it. So please, again, I want to encourage you to model for us proper use of Robert's rules, calling each other out of order if need be. That's a great example, right? Robert's rules is to protect good debate and the free exchange of ideas. And I would really appreciate that if you would teach us in that way, in the way that you discuss matters in this board. Thank you.
Thank you. Last in the room with us today is Heather Eckner. And board members, you all received a packet that she will be referencing today, I'm sure, during public comment. Once you're seated and ready, you may begin your 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, board members, superintendent, and department staff. My name is Heather Eckner, and I serve as the Director of Statewide Education for the Autism Alliance of Michigan. Today, I'm also here representing RISE, Reimagining Improved Special Education, a growing coalition of organizations, advocates, educators, families, and community partners working together to advance implementation of the Michigan Special Education Finance Reform Blueprint, also known as the My Blueprint. RISE was formed because we believe Michigan has both an opportunity and a responsibility to finally modernize how we fund special education in our state. For far too long, Michigan's special education funding system has created inequities that leave students, families, and districts struggling to navigate barriers that should not exist in the first place. Too often, access to support depends more on geography and local resources than on student need. At the same time, districts face growing financial pressures, staffing shortages, and continue to deepen, and students with disabilities continue to experience significant opportunity gaps and some of the lowest graduation outcomes in the nation. But Michigan has already done the hard work to begin addressing these challenges. Through extensive statewide engagement authorized by the legislature, the My Blueprint brought together families, educators, ISDs, researchers, advocates, administrators, and community stakeholders from across Michigan to develop one of the most comprehensive and collaborative special education finance reform efforts our state has ever undertaken. The result is a research-based, student-centered framework designed to create a more fair, transparent, stable, and equitable funding system for students with disabilities. The My Blueprint matters because it aligns funding more closely with actual student need. It helps reduce inequities between communities, improves predictability for districts and families, and creates a stronger foundation for improving outcomes for students with disabilities across Michigan. Importantly, the Blueprint is not just about funding formulas, it is about educational opportunity. It is about whether students with disabilities have meaningful access to the supports, services, and inclusive learning environments they need to thrive. We were encouraged to see movement this year in the executive recommendations and the Senate school aid budget through intent language supporting implementation of the My Blueprint framework through movement toward a weighted student funding model for special education. Today, we respectfully urge this board and our Superintendent Maleko to continue leaning into special education finance reform as a top priority for Michigan's education system and as part of the department's broader strategic goals around equity, opportunity, inclusion, and student outcomes. Students with disabilities cannot continue to wait for action, delay, or another future conversation. Students only get one chance at their education. The My Blueprint provides Michigan with a roadmap toward a more student-centered and responsive system, and we stand ready to partner with you all towards that. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. We will now move to those online. Hello, caller, can you hear me?
This message has been transcribed. One moment while I notify the caller. Hello?
Hello, caller, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Very good. Whenever you're ready, if you would please state your name, where you're calling from, and then you may begin your 3 minutes.
Okay. Oh, Eileen McNeil. I'm the president of Citizens for Traditional Values, and I'm speaking on the resolution regarding the state, the tax credits, the working families tax credit that's in a resolution before the board.
Please, this is your time. Go ahead.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. I represent Citizens for Traditional Values, and we have parents with children in public schools, private schools, and homeschools. And I really want to make sure that as you're considering this resolution opposed to this incredible benefit that would benefit all parents in the state, that there would be a clear understanding of exactly what this is and what it isn't, because it's not a voucher. It's truly a tax credit that allows any U.S. taxpayer to donate up to $1,700 to a nonprofit scholarship granting organization. And if they donate, they get a dollar for dollar income tax credit. And where does that go? How does a person apply? So a parent, whether they're in public schools, private schools, homeschooling, they can apply for a scholarship. And what can they use it for? What can they use this scholarship money, this grants? It's grants. It's not tied to any specific program, but they can use it for special needs services. We just heard about the autism organization right before this. They can apply it to curriculum needs. They can apply it, teachers can apply it to curriculum, extra curriculum, material needs they might have. A parent can use it for transportation needs if they want to transport their child to a public school if they need extra money. So there's all kinds of things that parents can use this for. And again, this is so far away from being a voucher as could possibly be. And I don't quite understand how this board would even consider adopting this particular resolution, because it's counter to what they want to achieve and make available to the students in Michigan. So in light of that, I would truly ask you to oppose this resolution let's go forward and support all of our students in Michigan. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hello, caller, can you hear me?
I can.
Thank you. If you please state your name and where you're calling from, you may begin your 3 minutes.
Bree Mogenberg, Isabella County. Also, a Michigan Republican Party endorsed candidate for the State Board of Education. I am one of 2 candidates. Terrence Collins is the other Michigan Republican Party endorsed candidate. Today, I am actually calling with concerns about the closed sessions that you've recently held at the last 2 meetings. I've done my research and I have found litigation against this board in case number 26-000076-MM. This lawsuit against the governor and all board members here has been filed by stakeholders in education, specifically from Detroit Public Schools community. It says, quote, "For students in Detroit, compulsory attendance puts students in learning environments that lack the basic conditions necessary for substantial educational opportunities. The schools these students attend frequently struggle to provide the foundational support and structure needed to teach basic skills." Unquote. Do any of you here understand why and how this is happening again? And I say again because the state not so long ago was wrapped in another lawsuit from Detroit, and it concluded in a $94 million settlement. Others may not see this, but what I see and what I completely understand is that both of these lawsuits have taken place under both a local and state Democrat-led board that has, according to not just statistics, but now this second suit, failed the students of Detroit over and over and over. Detroit students are important and they deserve better. However, not even your discussions on this matter have been public, which I believe may breach Open Meetings Act. While some may be permissible as closed session, I do not believe that all topics on this matter are closed, and the public wants transparency and accountability. Whether dismissed in full, partially dismissed, or not at all, this most recent lawsuit addresses head-on key issues in Michigan public education, issues that this board and this department are responsible for leading and overseeing. The people of Michigan deserve more efficient and effective use of our money. Our kids deserve better. Detroit students deserve an education. And we all deserve to know what is happening in those conversations. Anything less is corruption. Again, my name is Bree Mogenberg. I am a Michigan Republican Party endorsed candidate for the State Board of Education. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike, are there any other callers who have pre-registered for public comment today?
There are no other callers.
Very good. This concludes public participation.
Thank you, Liz and Mike. We're going to move to section 8, approval of minutes. This one is, next on the agenda is item E, the approval of minutes of the regular and committee of the whole meeting, March 10, 2026. Could I have a motion to approve those minutes, please? Dr. Pritchett, support. Senator Bullock? Oh. Or wait, there's support, and then I'll go for discussion.
Well, oh, yes. I support it.
You support Senator Bullock? Okay. Any discussion? Senator Bullock?
Come to the group's attention that there was a minor error in state.
Not in this one.
Okay, okay.
Not on the one on the website?
The one on the floor is on March 10th. That's the one we're voting on right now. Yeah.
There's actually multiple today
Yeah,
because
there's-
of what happened last month with the
My
meeting.
bad.
Yeah.
My bad.
That's all right.
I still support.
All good. Okay, no further discussion. Can we take a vote, Ms. Evans?
Bullock?
Yes.
Lipton? McMillan?
Yes.
Pritchett? Pugh? Robinson? Snyder? And Tilly? Nope. Motion passes.
Okay, the following, this is F.
That's for.
And this is the approval of the closed session. This is still March 10, 2026. Could I have a motion to approve the confirmation of the minutes of the closed session, March 10th? That was the evaluation. Dr. Robinson, second, Ms. Lipton. Any discussion? Ms. Evans?
Bullock?
Yes.
Lipton? McMillan?
Yes.
Pritchett?
Yes.
Yes. Robinson?
Yes.
And Snyder? Motion passes.
Okay, so item G, thank you, this is the approval of the minutes of the legislative committee meeting. This is April 9, 2026. Could I have a motion? Dr. Pritchett, second. Ms. Lipton, thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Evans?
Bullock?
Yes.
McMillan?
Yes.
Pritchett? Pugh?
Yes.
Robinson? Snyder? Motion passes.
Okay, so we're on H, and I'm just gonna preface this one as these are just notes, because it was not technically an official meeting, but we talked to the legal counsel on this, and we're just approving the notes from April 14th, 2026. If I could get a motion for that, please. Or, yeah, Ms. Lipton, thank you. And
I'll second.
Dr. Pritchett, thank you. Any discussion? This was because we didn't have a quorum last month, and so it's just notes, it's not official minutes. We did the, if you recall, public comment, and we had presentations, but no official board action. Okay, Ms. Evans?
Bullock?
Yes.
McMillan?
Yes.
Pritchett?
Yes.
Pugh? Robinson?
Yes.
And Snyder? Motion passes.
Okay. Now, this is the one I think you
This is
wanted,
you.
this is I, this is the one where there was an addendum. So we're making an addendum, I believe.
Let's move
Move,
on the
okay, we'll move.
motion and then we'll make an,
Okay,
yep.
so this is approval of minutes of special meeting of May 5, 2026. Could I have a motion for that? Ms. Lipton, second.
Support.
Dr. Pugh, and discussion.
I move for a correction. I think that Senator Bullock has already raised the omission. And so there is an item that should read, Dr. Robinson seconded by Dr. Bullock, that with the assistance of Department of Attorney General, authorizes President Pamela Pugh and Ms. Ellen Colgan Lipton to request on behalf of the board guidance and advice from the Attorney General's office relating to NW and NW minors by T.H.V. Whitmer et al. Case. And so there was an omission of and Ms. Ellen Colgan Lipton, and I move that that the minutes be amended to reflect that.
Okay, second. Discussion, Ms. Strang?
That vote.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, Ms. Evans?
So we're voting on the amendment.
The amendment.
Okay, Bullock?
Yes.
Lipton? McMillan?
Yes.
Pritchett?
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Snyder, and Tilly. Motion carries.
Okay, so now we're going to go back to the minutes. If I can get a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting. Yes, Dr. Robinson, support. Ms. Lipton?
We have
Oh,
Ellen and
We already
Pam.
have, sorry,
Mhm.
my mistake. We're already on there. Okay, so we'll just take any further discussion on that?
Yes, I'll also recuse myself from this vote as well.
Okay. All right, Ms. Evans?
Very good. Bullock,
Yes.
Lipton,
Yes.
McMillan,
Yes.
Pritchett,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
and Robinson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, next is K, approval of the minutes of the Legislative Committee. This is May 7, 2026. We can get a motion. Dr. Pritchett?
Have closed session first.
Oh, I'm
with
sorry.
Jay.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh,
there
Jay,
you go. Yep.
I flipped one. All right, I'm gonna go back. Jay, the approval of and confirmation of the closed session of May 5th, 2026. A motion for that, please. Dr. Pritchett, Ms. Lipton, discussion?
This is Jay.
Jay, sorry. Okay. All right, any other discussion? Ms. Evans?
Bullock,
Yes.
Lipton,
Yes.
McMillan,
Yes.
Pritchett,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
and Robinson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, now we're at K. This one is the approval of the minutes of the Legislative Committee, May 7, 2026. Dr. Pritchett, thank you. Dr. Robinson, discussion? None. Ms. Evans?
Bullock,
Yes.
Lipton,
Yes.
McMillan,
Yes.
Pritchett,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Snyder. Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. That was a lot of minutes. A lot of, double the action because of the last month. All right. The next, we're into section 9, item L, the presentation and recommendation for approval of the proposed standards of teacher of music. Today's presentation is for the revision and adoption of standards for the preparation of teachers of music. We welcome our presenters. And I think this is her first time, which I have a slide later, we're gonna welcome her, but Miss Lauren Carta Enzoma, Deputy Superintendent, Division of Educator Excellence, Career Technical Education, Special Education and Administrative Law. Miss Kelly Brzezinski, Director, Office of Educator Excellence. Dr. Sean Kotke, Assistant Director, Office of Educator Excellence. Dr. Gina Garner, Higher Education Consultant, Office of Educator Excellence. And Miss Corinne McAvoy, Music Educator, Executive Director, Michigan Music Education Association. I'll hand it over to you, and your first one.
It is.
Let's
thank
give,
you.
I had this in my other presentation, but let's give Miss Carter and Zoma a welcome for her first meeting. We're very excited to have you on board.
Well, I am grateful to be here. I'm going to just introduce the team. We have our Director of Educator Excellence, Office of Educator Excellence, Ms. Brzezinski. I'll let her introduce her team.
Hi, thank you so much. So joining me here today are Dr. Sean Kotke, Ms. Karen McAvoy, and Dr. Gina Garner. If I messed that up, I'm sorry. We are here today to present to you the recommendation for approval to the proposed standards for the preparation of teachers of music. But before we get into that, we want to start with reminding everybody of why we are here. And we are here because these teachers are teaching students, and students must be first. And this spring, we had a number of classes doing music performances and recitals and all of that, and we wanted to be able to bring some of that into the room today. And so I will pass that off to Dr. Garner, who will tell us a little bit more about the first video.
Good morning, good afternoon. So the first video we have is University Prep Science and Math Elementary School from Detroit. This class, the teacher of this class was one of our stakeholders that helped us with the standards process and the standards. And this is a kindergarten class, but they are doing a second grade level song from what we were told by their teacher. So this is Gone Fishin' from I Need a Vacation.
Our second video to share with you today is the East Lansing Middle School and High School orchestras. For a little bit of contrast from our youngest music students, or some of our youngest music students, to the broad size of ensemble that our music teachers are sometimes asked to work with. This is 7th through 12th grade orchestra performing a festival rondo.
that amazing coordination. I can't even imagine organizing young people in that manner. I'd pay great money to see that at the Fox Theater. So we're going to go into our presentation and recommendation for approval of the proposed standards for the preparation of teachers of music. Ms. Brozansky.
Thank you very much. As a reminder, these standards will guide the work of our preparation programs. These are not student standards. They are not teacher standards. They're really for the programs that train teachers. And this work is fully aligned with our top 10 strategic education plan, specifically to increase the numbers of certified teachers in areas of shortage. We know that teachers with strong preparation are the teachers who stay. And so it is essential that we make sure that this preparation continues to be strong.
So the question, why new standards for music teacher preparation at this time? Well, first, the current standards for the teachers of for preparation of teachers of music education adopted by the state board are from 2004. So they're among our oldest sets of teacher preparation standards. This extends our work to revise the certificate structure into the PK-12 space. A couple months ago, we approved the visual arts education standards, so this falls in line with that. And then this is also, part of them being out of date, brings our standards into alignment with current national music teacher preparation standards.
So who are our music educators? Our music educators teach all students in a school, every student in a school, from preschool to 12th grade. So they see every student regardless of the needs that they bring to school. They see every student regardless of their English language learning status. All students come to our music teachers. They teach instruments, choir, music appreciation, musical theater, voice. All of these pieces are embedded in this one educator. And then they also have to manage programs, inventories, instruments, fundraising. There's an enormous amount of work that goes into the job of a music educator. So who participated in our process? We brought together stakeholders and reviewers who represented our music educators, represented our teacher preparation educators who are working with teachers and training our music educators. We also wanted to make sure that our individuals represented a wide variety of school contexts, a wide variety of geographic context and grade level representation. Are they focused? Have they taught more on the elementary level? Are they teaching more at that secondary level? And then with our teacher preparation faculty, wanted to make sure we were representing large and small, private and public institutions so that all who were going to participate in this had a say in the work. Our committee process included reviewing current standards, reviewing national standards, reviewing what's going on in the national sphere around the education of music educators. Then our team of educators sat and really honed down on identifying critical components of music education. What are the critical pieces that a music educator needs to know in order to successfully do that job of teaching music? They also had to decide, are they going to build on the current standards or are they going to create a completely new framework? And they thought the current standard framework was good but needed expansion. So they built on the current standards that were there and created new domains and standards that were more reflective of current classroom practice. Our other standards were created in the early 2000s. So they wanted to make sure they were reflecting current context and current students.
So through a lot of discussion, we created these 8 categories, musicianship being obviously the first and foremost because that's what sets music teachers apart. But as Gina said, we spend a lot of time discussing all of the various hats that music educators are required to wear these days, and developed these 8 domains to kind of cover all of those different facets of being a music teacher that are unique to music classrooms. One of the key changes in the language that we used in these standards was to shift the language from focus on the teacher prep program to focusing on that pre-service or early career teacher. So our language was very intentionally shifted away from what the program should be doing towards what the pre-service educator should be doing and what that early career teacher should look like. Thinking through that whole process, we looked first at, okay, if we want students in the classrooms to have or be able to do this, what should their teachers be able to do? And then extending that, so what should their preparation program be preparing them with or for? We incorporated these changes, considering also other changes that have been made to, for example, the professional knowledge and skills standards, to include that preschool level as well as the rest of K-12, and also to adjust for the change in language from weeks to hours in terms of clinical requirements.
And now we had a period of public comment after we had presented earlier in the fall, and these were our responses. We had 71 individuals respond to the survey. Those included 22 Michigan counties, 41 local school districts and ISDs, 5 of our educator preparation programs, and 18 professional educational organizations. Geographic distribution was quite well distributed across Michigan. We even had respondent from the UP. We believe we had people either on vacation or possibly presenting at conferences, given that we had representation in Europe, in North Carolina, New York, and Kansas. But we were excited that, this was important enough that people, brought in and came in from wherever they are to speak out. Also, by role, you can notice that the majority of our respondents are K-12 music teachers. For these role representations, you can choose all that apply. So these individuals might have multiple roles that they indicate, but our strongest responders were teachers, parents, preparation faculty and staff, and classroom teachers. So the first question we asked them is, how long have you worked in education? And if you'll notice, most of our respondents have been working in education for 10 plus years. So that really helped us feel confident that the feedback we were being given was based in classroom experience. Their position on the proposed standards, and this was an overall question. Overall, we had large support with 49 full support and 36% support with minor revisions. Moving on, how do you feel these are supporting the achievement of learners? Because we know music isn't just about music, that music and arts also help children achieve more in their regular academic work as well. And we did also get that response of very well and mostly for the majority of our respondents. And then in terms of how these would support creative growth, we got the most votes towards the positive in whether or not they are able to support that creative growth of students. Oh, no, I have the, yep. For open-ended content data. So of the 71 people who completed the survey, 19 of them gave us open-ended comments. So we had qualitative data to review. And those open-ended comments, were 53 total open-ended comments. Many of them, the majority of them, really provided this positive reflection on the standards and supported the standards. They also provided some standards revision language for us to really consider in terms of revising the standards to make them more applicable to classroom practice. And then 34% of comments actually they were just direct support for the standards without even a revision suggestion.
So there were definitely some common themes throughout the comments that we received. As she mentioned, there was general support, and there were several explicit revision suggestions. There were a couple of outliers, people who were not actually responding to these standards themselves. There was also some confusion about the purpose of these standards, as clarified earlier, that these standards are for the preparation programs preparing teachers to become educators. They're not standards for students. So there were some comments that confused those two ideas. There was some general concern about the complexity of music preparation programs. Music certification programs are often among the highest credit loads, and so there was concern that this could impact that, and we did discuss that quite a bit, as I'll talk about in a moment. Concerns about separating elementary and secondary, but again, as we've already stated, this is a pre-K through 12 certification, so the certification does need to cover both secondary and elementary. And then finally, there were several comments specifically referencing methodologies, theories, or textbook series. And our intention was to maintain broad enough language to allow for degree programs to still personalize the presentation of their practices. So some of our responses to those themes, specifically regarding the additional workload, we did have many conversations about the impact on pre-service programs. We were very grateful to have college level educators on our committee and discussed at length the impact that these standards would have on degree programs. Our goal is not to increase credit loads, but to better prepare pre-service teachers with the long-term hope that better preparedness will equate to higher teacher retention. We believe that many of these standards can be addressed within existing coursework. And specifically regarding regarding the professional knowledge and skills standards, there were some concerns about about special education needs. And we were very intentional about making sure that anything that was not included in these music standards was included in those professional knowledge and skills standards. And that in order to avoid redundancy, we were only including those things which specifically applied to music education itself. Some other critical notes and reminders that current music teacher endorsements will remain valid for the lifetime of the certificate. These are for new these are standards for programs for new music educator endorsements. That programs will submit documentation of alignment when applying for approval or continuing or renewing approval. And that as the next steps you'll see later on, that there will be a revision of the Michigan test for teacher certification to align directly with these new standards. And then finally, just a couple of examples of some of the revisions that we made based on public comment. Standard 1.3, the revised version reads, demonstrate functional ability in voice, wind, string, and percussion, and classroom instruments appropriate for teaching in a variety of classroom and ensemble settings to provide a model for melodic and harmonic listening, performing, and creating. There was some confusion in the comments that the phrase classroom instruments applied only to smaller instruments such as those used in an elementary general music class, like xylophones or hand drums. So we reworded this passage to add the wind, string, and percussion language specifically to be more inclusive of all possible musical instrumentation. And our second example, standard 6.7, reads, develop a culture where students can articulate the goals of the music program to encourage student participation in advocacy and foster student investment. This was a new standard based on a previous version that we had placed under a different domain, but based on the questions and the public comment that we received, we moved it to its current placement under student engagement and clarified the language both within the standard and by adding definitions to the accompanying glossary.
Our next steps, if the board approves these standards, will be to start technical assistance with our preparation programs and also begin development of a Michigan test for teacher certification aligned to these standards. We expect that that test development will take approximately 3 years, which allows our preparation programs the opportunity to revise their programs, make sure that they're aligned to the standards, and actually start some new candidates in those programs before that test is available. We expect our potential first graduates to graduate from programs based on these standards sometime in 2029.
Thank you. I want to thank the team for all their hard work on this. We appreciate you. And we're going to hand it right back over to you, Dr.
Thank you, appreciate it. Is there any, Dr. Robinson?
First of all, thank you. This is really good information. Ms. McAvoy, you're exceptionally well-spoken. Where did you go to college?
I hold 2 degrees from the College of Music at Michigan State.
I want to make sure that we recognize, and I apologize, I don't know who the kindergarten teacher was on the first video, but the teachers responsible for the orchestra presentation, Dave Larzalier is the high school band teacher in East Lansing. Karen, where did Dave Larzalier go to school?
He is also a graduate of Michigan State University.
Orchestra teacher is Dave Rosen. Karen, where did Dave Rosen go to school?
You know, I think he might also be a Spartan.
And then at the middle school, Holly Thornton and Natalie Pays, I think is the name. Pays are the band and orchestra teachers there, and I think they deserve a round of applause for putting that together. The only comment I was going to make was I saw on one of the slides, I think maybe someone mentioned, music teachers are responsible for teaching all the students in a building, right? Which is different for visual arts and music and physical education, a little different than some areas. I'm just going to make another plea. I know I've done it to the board several times, so forgive me, but we can really teach all the students if we require music for all the students, especially in grades pre-K through 6. That would be, we do not do that right now. We're one of, I think, depending on the day that we talk about this, 4 to 6 states in the country that do not. We are in the minority there. That's not a group that we want to be in much longer. So I would renew my plea, my call for an elementary preschool through about grades 5 or 6 music requirement for all Michigan schools to join the other 44 or 45 schools in the country that do that. Because music teachers are teaching all those students. And in large schools, like we've heard about this morning through the school lunch program, where there are 24,000, 15,000, the student load for, especially an elementary music teacher like Karen, can be 600, 700, 800 students or more in a week. That's a crushing workload. I have all the respect in the world for teachers who know kids' names when they have that many students. So I appreciate the work that you've done on this. It seems really well put together, and I'll look forward to how this moves through. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to follow up on that, the kindergarten teacher is in the gallery. This is her.
Oh.
She was the teacher for that kindergarten class.
Okay, any other, Dr. Pritchett?
Thank you. When I was attending Oakland University, which used to be Michigan State a long time ago, I had a colleague who was in the School of Music, and I will attest to, and you mentioned it during the presentation, her course load was by far more intense than my course load was. And so I always admire music teachers at the elementary level, secondary level, because I know what their preparation has been. So I appreciate the time that's been put into this as you've looked at those and made them more robust, but also cognizant of the fact that we don't want to overwhelm people to the point where they take a step back and go, wait a minute, I can't do this. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. McMillan?
Would you say that these newer standards are more detailed than the prior ones? Yes. Okay. I mean, I guess that can be good, but that can also sometimes a higher level with fewer granular details can offer more flexibility, but okay, thanks.
Anybody else? All right, could I have a motion to adopt the proposed standards of the teachers of music as presented? Dr. Robinson, Senator Bullock. I'm glad Dr. Robinson jumped at that one. I knew he would.
As are we. Very proud.
Any discussion? I was going to recognize you no matter what. So, any other discussion? Okay, hearing none. Ms. Evans?
Bullock?
Yes.
Lipton?
Yes.
McMillan?
No.
Pritchett?
Yes.
Pugh?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
And Snyder. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have report of the state board president, Dr. Pugh.
Thank you, Dr. Maleko. I would first like to start by, I would like to also congratulate our colleague, Dr. Mitch Robinson, on his 45 years, my goodness, of service and a well-deserved retirement. And I know Kathy is happy about this. Hopefully she will be a few months from now. And we look forward to some of those meals that you tease us with and taunt us with online. So we'll be stopping by after the meetings now. I would like to also acknowledge and thank the Gamma Kappa Delta chapter of National Sorority of Phi Delta Kappa for the opportunity to serve as keynote speaker for the Black Achievers program on May 7th in Flint, Michigan. The theme of this year's program was From Scholars to Leaders, the Journey Begins. It was an honor to speak and to celebrate with the young people who were awarded. They gave over $14,000 in scholarships. So that was exciting. Also had an opportunity to stop by the Flint robotics team and visit with them. They have an all-girls robotics team, so that was exciting as well. And I want to thank the department for coordinating this year's reading events. That was really exciting. It was really nice to see all the board members sitting with the students, and that was rewarding for us. And I had the opportunity to go to Merrill and Casey Ling in Hemlock and visit those schools that are in the areas that I live, but I probably just wouldn't have had that opportunity. So thank you again. Additionally, I want to thank the MDE staff for organizing the recent State Board of Education legislative luncheon. The event was a success and provided an opportunity, an important opportunity for us to fellowship with legislators and collaborate, discuss opportunity for collaboration and continued partnership. And it was really good to see people stop by and visit, the legislators visit with Dr. Maleko. I do want to provide a really exciting announcement, and that is that we will be organizing a special education committee with the first meeting anticipated to be in June. That will be more of a planning meeting, continued planning meeting. More to follow on that. This will be bipartisan. Ellen Colgan-Lipton, Judy Pritchett, myself and board member McMillan have agreed to participate and be members on this committee. And again, we will have more to come. All board members are definitely welcome and encouraged to participate. We know that everybody at this table, our special education students are a priority, and this gives us an opportunity to strengthen our work on behalf of students with disabilities and their families. Lastly, on a brief personal reflection, I just want to share that just a month ago, I unexpectedly went into a cardiac arrest during what was supposed to be in and out visit. And I will say, by the grace of God and the quick action of the medical team at Michigan Cardiovascular Institute, my physician who insisted that I follow up on symptoms that were subtle, brief, and I will also say the prayers and support of so many people. I've made or am making a miraculous recovery. And I have to say that I had a dear friend who passed away in late February, Naisha, my dear friend. And her passing reminded me of how important it is to listen to our bodies and to pay attention to signs. And I just bring that up because this is not only Mental Health Awareness Month, but it's also Women's Health Month. And so I want to encourage all, particularly women, to not ignore signs and symptoms because they seem small or just difficult to explain, and to please pay attention to your bodies, prioritize your health, and seek care when something does not feel right. I thank you again, so many at this table, for the prayers, the kindness, the support during this time. And I'm deeply, deeply grateful to still be here and able to continue this work alongside each of you. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Pugh. Very good. Okay. We'll move on now to my report. We'll pull up the PowerPoint here. I think you're getting used to. And I just want to say, too, as we go up, I'm sorry I didn't make the event with Dan Quisenberry and our student there, Jack Fitch, a couple weeks ago, because I was in Grand Rapids and felt so badly about that. But I did get the pictures from him, and Alice-Ann just helped me out because he got to go, I think, in my office and sit in my chair. And he's got my cell number, I believe, now, and he can get a hold of me whenever we need. So in case I get ill, Dr. Pugh, I got a replacement ready to roll. So we'll give him the gavel next time, but that was great, so appreciate that. Anything with students, right? So here's my report for the month. Oh, I don't think no, oh wait, maybe it's not on. No, doesn't seem to be. Or I can toggle, I could go over there too. Okay. So as I move forward here too, just wanted to say, and you're going to see in this presentation, trying to really get out there with the listening tour. A lot of districts have been all over. In fact, we are looking at, just mapping out all the places, but we're out there. Kelly Siciliana Carter has some good forms that we're using for acquiring information for renewal of the top 10 plan. Okay, so it looks like, oh, we're good. Okay, so and we're going to keep moving forward as I go around the state and travel. And somewhat my partner in crime there, Bob Wheaton's been with me quite a bit, and others. It's been a team event. But here are the updates for the month. We already introduced Lauren, but very excited to have her on board, gave her that recognition. And I want to thank Dr. Garcia for her leadership in filling in. It's done a great job, really, and it's great to work with her. So let's just give Dr. Garcia a little. We already did Lauren, so. And then Dr. Carnell, thank you again, 45 years. We now have it, 47, I'm sorry. Oh, we got to correct that. 45 plus years. So we had kind of a really nice event on Friday at the Metro Bureau. I was part of that group. I was in the HR group, and then I was on the executive board. It was in Detroit, and Dr. Carnell was there. And also the new taking over. And Dr. Carnell has been great onboarding Miss Ali Bazzi, who we're going to be excited to bring to the board when she's ready. And it was really a positive evening. Dr. Colbert spoke. I gave a keynote address, and it was really nice just to see everyone. My wife was there, and it was friendly people down in the Metro Detroit area. And it was great to see Dr. Carnell and her daughter. And although she runs from the picture, her daughter comes to the pictures. But Sue is a great sport because we got a lot with my wife in there, and then one with her and Mason. So it was a really positive event. And again, the listening tour continues. So I appreciate the great people in the department, all the staff who are here, and everyone who's working hard to put students first. We were very excited to go to Lake Orion, and Eric Merschart, the new Michigan Teacher of the Year, and thank you. I know Mr. McMillan, Dr. Robinson, and Ms. Lipton were able to make it, and we also had a tour of the school, which was very positive. And he is a special education teacher as well, so that's very exciting with the new committee and the work. I think we all recognized that when we were there, and it's very positive. And obviously, we know it's Teacher Appreciation Month, so I would say we appreciate our teachers and all staff that work hard to put students first and to make a difference in the lives of students. Library in Michigan, this was a great event last month. I was excited that my wife was there. Of course, we're getting a picture of the Red Wings. You mean the sports, right? With Jack, he did the research there. But it was a wonderful evening. Dr. Golzinski, Michelle, and David from the library, and we're glad to be there to celebrate that as well and the great work with Michigan libraries. The listening tour continues. Had a great visit in the Detroit Public Schools. Over with Dr. Vitti and students, very, very positive. And I love it too, because when I go into the school visits, we always have students that are leading the way and showing me from their perspective what's going on in the schools. We do this 3 times a year, the MD All Staff meeting. And this is a recognition of staff. It's recognizing the staff, the great staff that we have in the Michigan department that work hard each and every day. And Bob Wheaton leads that. He does a great job with leading that event. And we have Joetta and others that are involved. And so we do that over at the Michigan Library. So it's a real positive event to bring the entire staff together for a couple of hours in person. So this was our, week long. I've been waiting on this one. Karen got it on the calendar. I will tell you, Karen Kerfoot, a lot of work on this trip. There was a lot going on. So that was Mr. Wheaton and I sharing in the rides. We stopped at the bridge and we kind of did a 1-minute message at every stop to try to show where we were going. But it was really about listening and understanding what's going on in the Upper Peninsula, especially for me, coming from a larger district in Dearborn, urban, suburban. I need to know and understand what goes on in the rural areas. And so we really just had a positive. You can see the map of where we were. We were all the way from Detour to Ironwood on the west, and even crossed the Wisconsin border for dinner the one night. Once you get past Marquette, you got a lot of Packers fans. That's the only negative about the jersey, I would say. But my cousin who lives way off in Bessemer, thankfully they're an Alliance household, but they now have a son and a daughter, one going to MSU and one going to U of M. And I'm telling you, it's a house divided right now when you go and visit them, but it's all good. And so, part of it was just listening. We had promised we'd be going up there. This is Detour area schools, a lot of CTE programs, and this is what I received from them, actually. The students created it. It's going to be on display, and they have a little inscription. And some of the things, the CTE is really huge up in the UP. It's very important to them. And actually, the heating is wood chips for this school, believe it or not. They still have some of the older systems down there. And, the one thing the wind was crazy when we got across the bridge. And the other thing was like, we couldn't take meetings or anything because you literally lose your cell signal. So it's like you feel successful when you get 2 bars and maybe you can talk to somebody. But that happened frequently as we drove through the UP. And that's Bob Vaught, superintendent there. Oh, I had also Representative Fairbairn who met with us, and he was really positive. He actually called me on an issue on CTE last week. So again, building those relationships so you can work together. We met this is Sault Ste. Marie ISD. We talked about CTE and special education when we were there, trying to, again, listening. This was in Rudyard Schools, and I got another thing. We get students first, students created again. Pretty cool thing, and obviously students were escorted us all around. And Bob's got this picture thing down pat, like he's got his angle in his system, and he does a great job. And I loved it too. It's the whatever it takes mentality up there. So this was Munising. Now this one was interesting because we went into this school and this gave us another indication. Some of the things we were learning, the challenges of the UP in northern Michigan about, some of the students that literally are on the bus for an hour and a half to 2 hours. And I'm gonna tell you, there's infrastructures up in the UP. So this school would be an example, Mather Elementary, in Munising, and we went through and we got a tour of every nook and cranny of the building. And I know I've talked to legislators about this, but we really do not have a lot of money for infrastructure. It's mostly local. There's $100 million in one of the grants. So that would be something, after seeing the UP, I will probably in next year's legislative priorities try to continue to advocate. I know we truly don't have the funding to fix it all on a state level, but if we can help a little bit here and there, and they're older. I can relate to two from Dearborn because we had older aging buildings, we had newer buildings, but up there they all seem to be in a similar situation. And so Superintendent Travis, we've had some communication with him following this, so it was good for us to really understand. I understood the buildings because some of the designs were similar to some of the ones I had in Dearborn, so I could relate to those. This was center, we went to Marquette, Greg Nean, Marquette ISD, and so we had a meeting with them. We had a dinner and then a meeting with about 40 superintendents, and just listening. We called it a roundtable, and they were shooting questions at me, and we were answering, but we were dialoguing. And I think here, Ms. Evans, there's a quick little video clip on that. If you could click on it, I'm not sure if I can, if it works. And
Pulling
if
up
not,
here.
it's
Hold
okay.
on 2 seconds.
Okay, might take a second. And this was Bob Wheaton. He coordinated with the UP, and they really were just honored we were there. So this is just one, but multiple press opportunities Yeah, so you can go ahead and play that. Thank you.
Right now, Michigan's new state superintendent of public instruction is visiting the UP.
And TV6's Julia Seitz caught up with him at a meeting of Michigan superintendents today. She tells us what he hopes to take from UP educators back to Lansing.
The new state superintendent, Glenn Maleko, made a stop in Marquette today. He attended a Michigan Association of Superintendents and Administrators meeting as part of his UP tour. Maleko says his goal is to get a better understanding of the region's unique challenges.
There's obviously budget concerns, support. We're hearing, everyone's challenges with literacy, and because up here, you have the smaller districts, they cannot necessarily consolidate some of those financial resources when you talk about literacy coaches and other areas.
During the meeting, educators asked questions and shared ideas on how to improve communication between the region and state. Marisa Superintendent Gregory Nean says the UP is sometimes seen as an afterthought.
Really communicate more effectively moving forward and have a direct opportunity to really help shape public policy as it applies to rural public education.
He also says many policies are designed to meet the needs of larger student populations rather than smaller ones.
Rural school districts are often placed in a position where we have to adapt language that is intended for urban and suburban districts, and it's not always a direct correlation.
Maleko says he's taking notes and bringing back reports to Lansing. Maleko says we're all in this together for the students, and anyone who wants to help kids is who he wants to work with.
Anybody in education, we got to stand together. Unions, to leadership, to students, to parent groups, to the community. And, let's all work together because we know the students are the future of the state.
He's glad to meet UP educators who are passionate about their students' futures. Julia Seitz, TV6 News, Marquette.
Miss Susan Young Brown is a celebrity.
So we got a lot of press up there. They were very excited to come and see. They were just really, thankful that we were there listening. We took a lot of notes. We've got a lot of feedback. Bob was taking notes, and then we sent them QR codes so they could send us information as well. But I just think it was very positive, and we're going to probably plan for something. We already had some invitations for next year, and Karen did a great job. I got to tell you that part too in Marquette, we were a little worried with Bob that he wasn't going to get home because I went there with him, but I was staying over the weekend, and then Bob was flying back, and what happened is he lost his rental car. And so we didn't know what was going to happen. So thankfully, I called that superintendent, and he said, I said, can anyone give Bob a ride down to Escanaba to get I think there's some kind of state vehicle was available. And thankfully, Steve Martin, superintendent. So if you ever seen the movies Trains, Planes, and Automobiles with Steve Martin, that was Bob getting that ride down. But everybody was so welcoming and willing to help and very appreciative. This was Forest Park School. So this one was when Bob went to get the car and I had to go the other direction. And then Gobinek, Ontagon Intermediate School District, and they actually have a joint, so some of their football teams, there's a lot of different things, but those are my initials too, but that's actually for the football team. So you can see that these sports, the music performances too, and the arts are just the center of these school communities. They are huge. Like the schools are truly the center of these towns and communities. And this was on the tribal area that we stayed in Waters Meet. And we got to go in there and meet with the students, and that was a very positive. And we got to learn some of the tribal cultures as we went in there. The Nimrods is their mascot name. Wakefield Marinasco School District was another one. And Forest Park, and I got them in contact, they're moving heavily on letters training, so the literacy that we're working on. So there's a few examples of up in the UP, how they're really bought into the need to have that training, and so that was really positive. And then this was Bessemer. There's actually, they have some electric bus grants as well. They had a lot of musical performances. It was great when we got in there and got to see what was going on. And so we met with a lot of students, superintendents, and you could see for the students, they were just pride and joy. And then I would hear the stories of the students that were going on to different colleges and universities next year. So it was really positive. And there's Luther R.L. Wright from Ironwood, who was the state superintendent, 1907 to 1913. So I got to see the picture there. His picture's out there outside the boardroom, so we got to see some history there as well. And yeah, so there's more to come. Looking forward coming up. We have the Mackinac Policy Conference that I'll be at, Michigan Community College Association President's Meeting, and Michigan School for the Deaf graduation. So thank you. And thanks to Bob and Karen and the whole team for helping out with that UP trip. All right. Next, we have federal legislative update. We'll now hear from Bob Wheaton, Director of Office of Public and Governmental Affairs, Ms. Olivia Ponte, Legislative Liaison in the Office of Public and Governmental Affairs, who will provide the state and federal legislative update.
Sorry to deafen everybody. Good afternoon. I will turn it over to Olivia for the update.
Thank you. Good afternoon, board members. So first, I'll give a little policy legislative update, and then Dr. Golzinski and I will present on the budget now that we have 3 budget recommendations. So, well, I'll go on with the policy side because that's, oh, you're fine. So just so everyone knows, we've been talking about House Bills 4556 and 4557. These are the bills that would remove the writing requirement from the SAT, as well as remove the requirement that scores appear on transcripts. These bills were passed in a very bipartisan manner, and they have now been presented to the governor. So they were presented on May 5th, so she has 14 days from that date to sign or veto. As far as current legislative updates, the House Education and Workforce Committee met last week and they took up 3 bills for testimony only. They include House Bill 5822. This was a bill that would allow 529 accounts to be used for trade schools. House Bill 5810. This is a bill that would require all districts to implement the presidential physical fitness test. And House Bill 5480, this is a bill that would require districts to accept non-resident pupils if there's documented evidence of bullying. So we do expect the House Education and Workforce Committee to meet as well tomorrow on some additional literacy bills. So information will be coming in board brief in summary of that committee that we're seeing tomorrow. And then the legislature also passed both budgets in their respective chambers. So the House passed the House version of the budget for both the school aid budget and the general omnibus, which includes all department budgets. And the Senate chamber voted to pass the Senate budget, which also included school aid and general omnibus. The Senate also passed Senate Bill 903 and 904. These are the bills that would codify a weighted funding model. And this was something that was included in the exec and Senate rec, and we've heard that the House is interested, though it wasn't included in their budget proposal. And this weighted funding model, as we kind of talked about at the Legislative Committee last week, would codify the buckets of money that different students with different needs require, and put in a formula to make sure that the foundation allowance is higher for those students. So we are working through that, and without further ado, we'll jump into the budget presentation on the 3 recommendations, and then we're happy to take any questions.
All right, good afternoon. So as Olivia said, we're going to talk about the 3 budget recommendations. Just a friendly reminder, this is the first step of the budget process. So we have the governor's budget recommendation, we have the Senate's budget recommendation, and we have the House budget recommendation. On Friday, we will have what is known as the CREC, or the Consensus Revenue Estimating Conference. This is where we will get the budget targets that the appropriation chairs will now have to work with as we really start to negotiate and finalize what these budget bills need to look like for FY27. So as we look at the per pupil foundation allowance, you will see in all 3 bills approximately a 2.7% increase for traditional LEAs, PSAs. In the House, that includes cyber charters. in the governor's executive recommendation and the Senate recommendation cyber charters are at 80% of the foundation. The new weighted funding model that Olivia was just talking about, the executive recommendation included the at-risk funding, which is normally in Section 31A, and the English language learner funding, which is normally in Section 41, as a part of this new weighted funding model. The Senate recommendation included that 15-year trajectory and tie-barred that bill with the budget. So Olivia was just talking about Senate Bill 903 and 904. The House did not include that weighted funding formula in their current version of their budget bill. As we continue to move forward to look through our strategic education plan goals, partnership districts, level funded, rural and isolated, somewhere between 5 and a 7% increase. Transportation reimbursement is again proposed in all three budgets, which is wonderful. We know that that plays a role for our students. And then at-risk funding, we just talked about what that looks like across the three budgets. As we look at special education, bilingual education, special ed foundations, you'll see the differences here on the screen. The House did propose a special ed reserve fund, which includes a intent for the My Blueprint weighted funding as a $20 million line item. For goal 2, improving early literacy achievement, you'll see early literacy coaches included again, $75 million in the House, 50 in the Senate, and in the governor's recommendation for letters, which is the training for literacy achievement that we're working toward. Our legislative priorities are to require letters training for all teachers. Literacy supports in Section 35M, we're currently at $64.4 million. We're seeing a proposal of $100 million over 2 years in both the governor and the Senate, $150 million in the House proposals. Literacy essentials in the governor's budget, $4 million, current budget is $4 million. The governor's proposal is $6 million. Senate proposal is $6 million. The House does not include that. High impact tutoring, not included currently, but you will see over 5 years, $100 million in the governor's executive recommendation, $50 million in the Senate, and $50 million over 2 years in the House. And then finally for goal 2, private tutoring in the House proposal, a pilot program of state aid funding to go for grants to districts to reimburse parents of at-risk students. So these would be in districts in an opportunity band of 4 or higher. So that's our highest at-risk building or at-risk districts. They would be provided funds to reimburse parents for the cost of private tutoring. We also see a new section in the House proposal of Section 35O requires MDE to publish and periodically update a literacy achievement and opportunity dashboard. No funding or staffing to create and publish that dashboard. Also in the executive and Senate recommendations, Section 35Q requires MDE to publish and periodically update a literacy achievement and opportunity dashboard. So again, no dollar amount included to achieve that. For goal 3, improve the health, safety, and wellness of all learners. Section 30D is the Michigan School Meals. You'll see that the governor's executive recommendation includes the $200 million needed to continue in recurring funding. The Senate bill includes the $1.6 million in ongoing GF to continue to include non-public schools, as does the House bill. The Dr. Pugh, you asked this morning about 10 cents a meal, and I believe I said it wrong this morning, so I want to make sure that I'm clear this time. The House bill does include 10 cents a meal. It was the Senate bill that included 10 cents a meal in the MDARD budget. And I think I said it opposite this morning, so I want to make sure. So it is included in two budgets, both the Senate and the House. It was just that the Senate included it in the MDARD budget, whereas the House included it in the state aid budget. Mental health and safety per pupil funding. This is section 31AA. You may all remember that there was language in this year's current 31AA language that there were a number of districts who were uncomfortable with the language that was included, waiver language that was included. In the governor's recommendation, that waiver language remained. I'll talk about the Senate and the House version on the next slide, but that funding is again proposed in all three budgets. On the Senate side, there are two subsections. One would be for community violence intervention grants, and the other is for per pupil grants. Then when we look at what the waiver language looks like on the House side, it defines what a mass casualty event looks like. Currently, that's not defined. So both of these budgets defines what that looks like and then clarifies that the waiver of privilege is by the recipient of funds does not waive the rights of privileges held by an individual. And then on the Senate side, it includes that it's not a result, that it is the result of a deliberate and malicious act and not the result of a motor vehicle accident, because that was also a concern of some of the districts. What if it was a bus accident or something to that effect, that waiver language would have then been invoked in the current bill. And I will move it on to Olivia next.
Thank you, Diane. So moving right along to goal 7, increasing the number of certified teachers in areas of shortage. We see all three budgets include the My Future Educator Fellowship and stipends, though we see a 25% increase in funding in the House bill. This would be to include student teachers that are student teaching in a non-public school. The governor's budget and the Senate budget also include funding for the Grow Your Own program with a few boilerplate changes just to clean that up. Goal 4, to expand secondary learning opportunities for all students. We see about a 5 to 6% increase for the base CTE funding in all three budgets. The executive budget and the Senate budget include a 6% increase for CTE early middle college, and the House actually increases that by 12%. The House also includes a pilot program for a learner and educator credentialing system. Continuing with goal 4, the House also introduces hospitality and tourism CTE competitive grants at $900,000. And all three budgets include some form of a dual enrollment incentive at $20 million, $40 million, or $60 million, depending on the exec, Senate, or House budget. Notably, for the APIB CLEP test reimbursement for students who are economically disadvantaged, the governor's budget and the House budget included only what was marked as ongoing funding, that $1.2 million, even though the full amount needed is $2.6 million. So we are grateful that the Senate did recognize the progress we've made with those AP tests and included the full $2.6 million. Now moving on to kind of a myriad of miscellaneous sections, but kind of in the STEM area first. The executive budget recommendation in the Senate included $12 million for the Mathematics Pathways grant, and you'll see new-ish on this one and the next line item because they are line items that existed before. The Mathematics Pathways existed in fiscal year 24, and My STEM existed in fiscal year 25, but was just recently cut in this fiscal year 26 budget. So the exec and the Senate proposed to reinstate the My STEM funding at $8 million. 99H First Robotics, all three budgets include funding for this program, the Senate at a 20% increase. Moving on, but continuing with STEM, the House proposes 2 new programs related to numeracy and STEM supports,
And these sections actually mirror what's in 35M, which is the Committee for Literacy Achievement, the committee that the department created to critically evaluate early literacy curricula. And so this would create the Committee for Mathematics Achievement and the Committee for STEM Achievement at $150 million respectively. Some other miscellaneous items are a $150 million consolidation and infrastructure grant. Dr. Maleko mentioned the $100 million that currently exists for infrastructure needs. So the House proposes $150 million in continued funding there. The House also proposes $8.8 million for vacant building demolition. All three budgets include funding for before and after school programs. The House maintains the current funding levels at $75 million. The Exec and Senate up that to $135 million. And then the Exec and Senate also include $1 million for the Mary Research Collaborative. The House does not include that funding. The House also includes $350,000 of general fund for the department to create an A through F accountability system and post public information about a district's promotion and retention policy related to third grade students who scored not proficient in the ELA portion of the M-STEP. The House includes $1 million for a growth and projections analytics system, and the Exec and Senate include $5 million for districts to comply with ESSA requirements related to tribal consultation. Last miscellaneous section here, the Exec and Senate include $3 million for the Michigan Learning Channel, and then the Senate includes $10 million for a pilot program for school-based drivers training programs, as well as $21 million in an equal amount per pupil for school library support. There are several notable boilerplate changes. Grab your magnifying glass here. But for the first three, they are present in the House budget and not the others. So first, Section 16, the House budget would prohibit MDE from entering into a contract with current employees or former employees of the department. Section 16A would provide a 20% penalty on a district's foundation allowance if they use curriculum that includes race and gender stereotyping, other DEI initiatives, allowing transgender girls to participate in girls' sports, or providing multi-stall unisex bathrooms. 18E would require MDE to release withheld funds from fiscal year 25. Now moving on to the Senate includes language related to virtual days. If you recall, 2 years ago, a district was allowed to have up to 15 virtual days of instruction. Then in the fiscal year 26 budget, those were completely removed. So this would go back to 6 rather than 15, but it would require that 3 days of those virtual days would be used for testing when certain students have to be in, and other students could still receive instruction just virtually. And then 3 days for circumstances beyond the district's control. Section 35M in the House, though it was funded, it was changed a little bit. So rather than proceeding with the curricula list that the Committee for Literacy Achievement created, it would name 5 different reading curricula, which are the 5 curricula that Mississippi uses. Lastly, Section 164K, currently in the fiscal year 26 budget, this section exists and it provides a list of requirements that districts must do and allows community members to report a district to the department if they are not following those. This would retain that language and then add that a district must participate in the presidential physical fitness test. And last slide here, just want to talk about the MDE budget. We've been talking about the school aid budget, so we'll kind of switch gears here. As we've seen since February, when the executive budget recommendation was released, the state is looking at a $1 billion general fund deficit. So didn't see as many investments as maybe the past few years, but we did see the executive and the Senate proposed 3 FTE, $380,000 to support the Michigan School Meals Program. These are required positions to maintain federal funding for the state program. And then in the House, we saw some pretty drastic cuts
We saw 104.5 FTE reduction, which is about 18% of the MDE workforce, and then a $24.7 million cut, which is 15% of the department's funding. And I do want to be clear that the $24.7 million isn't just general fund, it is private funds, federal funds, and state funds. So while it's a $24.7 million cut, it does not mean it is $24.7 million in savings for the state. Lastly, the Senate did have $1 million in one-time funds, so they split it $500,000 for state aid to public libraries, $500,000 to the Michigan E-Library, or MEL. And with that, we have concluded our presentation, and happy to take questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Dr. Robinson?
You mentioned, I think it was a House proposal for a new credentialing system. Could you explain what that is?
Yeah, so it's related to CTE, and it is, there's a vendor that provides credentialing for CTE programs that tracks a student's credentials as they earn them during CTE programming.
Okay.
There it is.
Anyone else? Ms. Lipton?
Thank you. I just had a couple of questions. So I just want to make sure that I'm clear as to the continued moving forward with letters training. There is not any introduced bill regarding mandatory letters training. That's correct?
No, there is.
There is.
Yes. Yeah, there is a bill by Representative DeBoer that would require all K through 5 educators who are teaching reading to participate in letters.
Okay, so a bill has been introduced, and excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. And it is so it's in committee. Has there been a hearing on it?
Yes, there has been a hearing.
Sorry, I was just trying to understand where the end, but it has not passed out of committee, or it has?
It has not passed committee, no.
So it's been testimony?
Testimony only.
Only, okay. Just out of curiosity, is there any language in the bill regarding time for compliance? Is it like immediately? Are there any funds that go along with it? What's like the pragmatic sort of notion of getting everyone to take this, given that it's I think a 2-year program, or?
Yeah, that's a good question. I believe as currently drafted, the bill would require compliance within 5 years. And the bill does include language that states it's subject to appropriation. But the funding in the exec, Senate, and House bill is estimated to be enough to complete for all current K-5 educators.
Okay, wonderful, thank you. With respect to the discussion regarding high-impact tutoring, that line item, any language in there regarding what that looks like? You know, I think we have some really good research and data on what high-impact tutoring can look like, should look like. Any incorporation of that? What does that look like in terms of the boilerplate or anything like that?
Yeah, the boilerplate is actually pretty specific. I believe it has to be the same tutor for the student. It requires a certain number of hours per week, but we can include the exact language in board brief this week.
Okay.
Just so you can see it.
Okay. The 35Q accountability, could you just say a little, in 35Q accountability line item, could you just say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so 35Q in the exec and Senate, it's very similar to section 35O in the House, but 35Q would require MDE and MyLeap to work together to basically post a website that includes information about literacy achievement, so like M-STEP scores, SAT scores on the website. That way it's all in one spot.
And I think the idea is to increase transparency for parents and educators, although I do believe a lot of that information currently lives on my school data.
Okay, because that was my understanding, is that this might already be required and might be duplicative, perhaps? That's, okay, yeah, okay, thank you. And then lastly, with regard to the consolidation and infrastructure line item, my understanding is that that's been in the budget for now 2 years, maybe 3 years? And I'm just wondering what has been the response to that, sort of the uptake of that? What does it look like in terms of, like, who's grabbing that money and looking at consolidation?
It's
I,
it's been a complicated section, so I'll say like it started about 5 years ago with the consolidation and infrastructure fund, which they deposited like $450 million, and they've kind of been slowly taking it out year after year. So I believe this is the first year of 12E, but we had 12D last year, which was more focused on consolidation, and now we're 12E is mostly infrastructure, despite the title. So I will say anecdotally, the response has been overwhelming. I mean, I know we saw the infrastructure report that was done by Wayne Reese, I believe, and it was a number in the 20 billions to actually complete all of the infrastructure needs in Michigan.
Right, right.
And I think, yeah, we had for 12E alone, 187 applicants, $1.2 billion requested, and as you can see, there's only 100 million available.
Okay, so basically that line item is now sort of moving toward infrastructure, which is something that is badly needed, maybe less for consolidation studies or things like that, maybe. Well, not clearly, but again, I just want to make sure that I'm hearing from you that there is certainly more need in terms of applications and desire than actually what's been put in there for that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and then can I just comment on that too? Just like, for example, I'll use my previous district. We were looking at a 1 billion to 1.5 billion in needs. Depending on what model you went for, and there's 100 million for the whole state. So, as Diane, Dr. Dukolzinski is aware, I mean, there's multiple applications coming in, and just, we're still helping out some areas, but we definitely could use more. There was, in the SFRC, it didn't really address, how do you handle infrastructure too. So, but thank you. Go ahead, Dr. Pugh.
And this may be a repeat, I might have missed it. Where are the dollars in 12E for the other two budget proposals? Are they you're saying that they're somewhere else?
No, I'm saying they did not include funding for those.
Okay, that's interesting. And did I miss the rationale for that? I'm sorry. It was, okay.
Yeah,
There isn't, okay.
Anybody else? Any questions? Okay. Ms. Lipton? Yeah, go ahead.
Not a question, just a comment.
Okay.
I had the honor, along with 2 other board members, to visit the school that our teacher of the year coming from, sort of a well-known school district in northern Oakland County, Lake Orion High School. And that was a pretty clear picture in my mind of what a school can do with a very robust space. That infrastructure as to the educational outcome of our students, particularly our most vulnerable students. We did visit some special ed classrooms. it's to me, just sort of a poster child of the importance of good infrastructure as being not the only thing that's important, but certainly something that is extremely important when you're talking about whole child. And at the risk of sounding like a broken record, it really did pull together for me the notion of the full service community school model by using a very robust school district in harmony with the surrounding community, being able to really deliver very, very high quality education. And it really showed in the students. So, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So next on the agenda it was the item that was added this morning. It was the the resolution opposing Michigan opt-in to federal private school tax credit voucher program under the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Do we have a motion to adopt the resolution? Dr. Robinson, second. Ms. Lipton, discussion.
I will read.
Go ahead.
I'll read the
Dr.
bill.
Pugh. Okay.
Or the resolution,
Okay,
I'm
sure.
sorry. Whereas Article 13, Section 2 of the Michigan Constitution requires the legislature to maintain and support a system of free public elementary and secondary schools, and further prohibits public monies, public credit, and any payment credit, tax benefit, exemption, or deduction, tuition, voucher, subsidy, grant, or loan from being provided directly or indirectly to aid or maintain non-public elementary or secondary schools or to support attendance at such schools. And whereas the federal private school tax credit voucher program created under the One Big Beautiful Bill Act allows individual taxpayers to claim a federal tax credit of up to $1,700 for contributions to scholarship granting organizations, but only in states that affirmatively elect to participate and submit eligible private school voucher granting organizations to the Internal Revenue Service. And whereas while structured as a federal tax credit, this program functions as a voucher-style subsidy for private school attendance and raises serious concerns under Article 13, Section 2 of Michigan Constitution. And whereas Michigan voters have already spoken clearly on this issue by approving Proposal C in 1970 to prohibit public aid to non-public schools, including tax benefits and vouchers, and again in 2000 by rejecting Proposal 1, which would have amended the Constitution to permit indirect public support for private school vouchers by a margin of 69.13% to 30.87%. And whereas available research indicates that private school tax credit and universal choice style programs disproportionately benefit wealthier households and affluent donors, as participation is more advantageous to taxpayers with meaningful federal income tax liability, and because higher income families are often better positioned to absorb remaining tuition, transportation, and related costs. And whereas analysis of similar federal tax credit voucher structures has found that households above 75,000 are more likely to be positioned to benefit as donors, and that near universal private school choice programs increasingly serve higher income families. And whereas Michigan's public schools serve the overwhelming majority of the state's children and are constitutionally and morally obligated to educate every child, including students with disabilities, multilingual learners, rural students, students experiencing poverty, and students with the greatest educational needs. And whereas Michigan schools, public schools continue to need sustained investment in literacy, educator recruitment and retention, school infrastructure, transportation, special education, student mental health, and safe and supportive learning environments. And whereas public policy, public tax benefits, and public resources should be directed towards strengthening public schools that are open to all children and accountable to the people of Michigan. not toward subsidizing private education systems that are not subject to the same public governance, transparency, admissions obligations, and civil rights protections. And whereas the Michigan State Board of Education has a constitutional duty to provide leadership and general supervision over public education and to speak clearly when public education is threatened by policies that undermine equity, accountability, and universal access. Now therefore be it resolved that the Michigan State Board of Education opposes any effort by the state of Michigan to opt into the federal private school tax credit voucher program created under the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. And be it further resolved that the Michigan State Board of Education urges the governor of Michigan to reject participation in this program and to refrain from submitting any election, certification, or list of private school voucher granting organizations that would enable the program to operate in Michigan. And be it further resolved that the Michigan State Board of Education affirms that the participation in this program will be contrary to the express will of Michigan voters and would raise serious constitutional concerns of the Michigan Constitution. And be it further resolved that the Michigan State Board of Education urges state and federal policymakers to prioritize investment in public education, including literacy, special education, transportation, educator workforce development, student mental health, and school infrastructure. And be it further resolved that copies of this resolution be transmitted to the governor of Michigan, the Michigan legislature, the Michigan Department of Education, Michigan's congressional delegation, and all other appropriate officials.
Mr. McMillan?
There's a lot of misinformation going on about this. Let's make sure that we're clear that this is not a tax deduction, it's a tax credit. If I were to, have a tax bill of $10,000 that I was either going to pay or that I was assessed, and I donated $1,700 to a scholarship granting organization, an SGO, I would then owe $8,300. It's a direct one-for-one dollar credit. It's a no-brainer. I mean, I'll give the credit. I certainly will donate it. If it's not going to be to Michigan, it'll probably be to Ohio. If you want Ohio students to benefit from my tax credit, because it's a, that's fine. But that's why states that are, there's 3 states that said no, and then they're reconsidering them. 2 that are in this email, this robo email we were getting that said New Mexico and Oregon have already rejected. Well, both of those states are reconsidering, and it's mainly because the governors are getting pressure. Like, why would you want the tax dollars to go to the students outside of the state when those dollars would be used in state? I asked Gemini AI, Google AI, about how much is lost annually in Michigan if the governor turns us down. $340 million to $555 million is estimated that Michigan students will lose. And these can be used for professional tutoring, special ed services, counseling, computers, internet access. I mean, these are things that clearly, we've talked about here at this table is something that should be used, that kids need in Michigan, and these scholarships could be used. There is 0 constitutional concerns. Again, just looking at Gemini or any other AI, because any Blaine amendment, it's not applicable. We're not talking about tax dollars. The credit is going to a scholarship granting organization, and that organization will give it out. And also in here, it talks about how wealthier households are more positioned to benefit as donors. Well, yeah, the $1,700 perhaps, but the benefit of those dollars from the tax credits will go to all kids. It has nothing to do. As a matter of fact, there's a cap. Families can't make a lot of money, or there is a certain cap. So it's really geared more towards low-income families that the scholarship granting organizations will give out. I can't understand why this body would want to deny Michigan public school students additional support. It makes no sense. It's not taking money from any education dollars, 0. There are no education dollars, certainly Michigan tax dollars, but also at the federal government. This is not coming from any kind of pool for Title I or any other dollars. So there is zero reason. As a matter of fact, the email is also incorrect. It said a majority have not decided. Actually, 30 have officially filed and decided to approve it. There's only a few states that have said no. And 3 states, Hawaii, New Mexico, and Oregon, said no, but now, because they realize it's a no-brainer, that's what Democrat governor in Colorado said, this is a no-brainer. New York has approved it. There's plenty that likely will in the future. I would not want to be on the wrong side of history on this one in denying dollars, $340 million to $550 million a year to, kids in Michigan. It makes 0 sense. This truly is a no-brainer. Now, for those that actually care more about the adults in the system and not the students, yeah, maybe. Maybe there's a fear that somehow, I don't even know. I guess you could try to make the argument, but there's certainly, if you care about the students and the kids, this is a no-brainer. There's no reason to not approve this and to vote. There's every reason to vote against this resolution and to certainly instead urge the governor to opt in to this program. Thank you.
Dr. Robinson?
I agree with Tom. It's a no-brainer, but for exactly the opposite reasons. The voucher income caps were removed in Indiana. So there's no income caps at all. That will be the future of voucher programs. In Indiana right now, it's at a 95% acceptance rate, regardless of family income. In Arizona, 650% more money has been now spent than was budgeted, which is blowing Arizona's state budget. Josh Cowan, an MSU researcher, has shown in several studies that most of the students and families that are taking the vouchers did not previously attend private schools. So that money is just exiting any public school systems. The voucher costs have resulted in deep cuts to public schools and infrastructure, sewers, water projects, road projects, et cetera. Florida spent this year $3.9 billion, so we're talking about $300 million in Michigan. When you really go all in on vouchers like Florida has, they've spent $3.9 billion on private school vouchers. It's now blowing a $6.9 billion deficit in their state budget. And the typical voucher doesn't cover the full cost of attending any private school that a kid wants to attend. And in some places, Ohio and Indiana, when vouchers were passed, the private schools that were accepting the vouchers simply raised tuition so they could make more money. It is a no-brainer. Michigan's voters have voted against it twice. I suspect that if they had to vote again, it would again be 70% against. So it is a no-brainer. There's no way we should accept this deal.
Thank you. Ms. Schneider?
So this is not a voucher program. I will read from American Legislative Exchange Council on the nationwide position that we're in on this issue, and then statewide. There's been multiple polls done across the country and across our state. I do think it's important for this body to consider what parents are looking for. It says voters, especially parents, are ready for this kind of opportunity. Recent EdChoice polling shows that about 70% of school parents and 60% of American adults support their state participating in the Education Freedom Tax Credit Scholarship Program. Opposition was also extremely low, with just 9% of parents and 11% of adults saying they were against the program. Notably, the same polling found that 38% of parents and 20% of adults said they were very or extremely likely to donate to an SGO in exchange for the federal tax credit. This is a significant early indication that the program could generate significant funding for student scholarships. It goes on to say, in echoing some of the things that Tom has shared, however, there is a critical aspect of this program that is not widely reported but has potentially major implications for states that fail to opt in. Since this is a federal program, any taxpayer in any state can obtain the credit so long as they donate to an SGO that is participating in the program. Therefore, a donor in, say, California who wants to support the program can still receive the tax credit by contributing to an SGO in Texas. The net result is that California not only misses out on those contributions, but they actively encourage California taxpayers to support students and families outside the state. So that's just the nationwide landscape in terms of where we are at. If I look at statewide polling from MRP Group, it says a strong majority of Michigan voters across party lines support the state opting into a new federal education tax credit that applies to both public and non-public schools, according to the Michigan poll commissioned by MRP and conducted March 16th through 18th of this year. 72% of Michigan voters support our state opting into the federal education tax credit. 79% identified themselves as Democrats, 68% as independents, and 71% of Republicans. So even if some of the issues that we cite here today need to be worked out legislatively within our own state, there's actually 31 states that have signed on to this federal tax credit program. We are, the walls will be closing in on whether or not Michigan will be one of those states. I would argue that continuing to, experience the budget crunch that comes with decades of disenrollment does not get better when we say no to things like this. And we look like the very few at some point in time that aren't going to actually enroll and engage in what this looks like. So I'll leave it at that for now.
Senator Bullock? Thank you, Ms. Stern.
Let me figure out how I want to put this in layman's terms for the people listening. It's a complicated shell game. It's not called a voucher. It's been given a tax credit name, and it's a tax credit, but the state of Michigan laws differ from, as Mitch was, Indiana, Wisconsin, the border states, their laws are a little different of how they uncap their taxes. So it is, especially if you're a traditionalist, it will drain the school aid fund, and it will not be the funding to the normal public charter system will not remain the same. Monies will go to private and parochial schools, or folks that have money that will donate will get the tax credit. It won't, the average person will not be the recipient or benefit from this convoluted. I mean, it would take time to actually explain the shell game to it. It's a shell game. So it's not called a voucher, but it's going to be called a tax credit, which will then be used in essence as a voucher. So from the definition of what a voucher is. So it's just, so all that extra talking and it's just bad juju.
Okay, thank you, Senator Bullock. All right, no more. Oh, Mr. McMillan?
Well, I just asked AI, will it drain the school aid fund in Michigan? No. The Education Freedom Tax Credit will not drain the Michigan School Aid Fund because it's funded through federal tax credits, not state revenue. So there is zero effect it will have on Michigan School Aid Fund. There will be zero draining. All it will mean is students would get $300 to $500 million more to have tutoring, special ed services, counseling, things that the kids in Michigan could certainly use. So there's, Mitchell can bring in, voucher programs in other states and try to obfuscate the issue and confuse it, but it's very clear. This is a federal tax credit. It will have no impact on state funds, and it will only help children. Thank you.
I just wonder if he's using a bias-based artificial intelligence program to give us this answer. It's still a complicated mess, and no matter what they say, the complication, the unintended consequences will be greater.
Okay, I don't see any more comments. Ms. Evans, would you take the roll call vote, please?
Bullock,
Yes.
Lipton,
Yes.
McMillan,
Certainly no.
Pritchett,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Snyder.
No.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Next, we're on to the comments by the Board of Education. I believe Mr. McMillan may have a.
No.
No, nothing? Okay. All right, so, does anybody have any comments? Oh, Ms. Lipton?
I just wanted to inform the board, as well as the listeners, that in addition to being May being Mental Health Awareness Month, May is also Jewish American Heritage Month, as well as Asian American Heritage Month. I know. Thank you. Asian American Culture Heritage Month. And I would, I know that the department has resources, and I know that many school districts are implementing these recognitions into their programming to reflect the diversity of cultures and heritages that are in the state of Michigan. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Ms. Schneider?
So I am looking at the meetings that were, or the minutes that were approved by the board today. My recusal votes, according to Robert's Rules of Order, are not to be recorded as nay. A recusal is withdrawing from the decision-making process entirely due to a conflict of interest, and a vote is neither in favor or against what was decided upon, so these votes need to be corrected. I also recuse myself from the vote of those minutes, so Liz, I hope that you will correct that vote on those minutes. As such, I will make an official statement on the minutes that were approved today by 7 members of this board for the May 5th open meeting that indicate Tom McMillan asked for clarification on item 5. Public record shows he specifically asked for clarification regarding who would approve filings. At that time, publicly, it was only Pam Pugh that was approved by those 7 members. There are public statements that were made today in regard to these meeting minutes that are not accurate. The conflicts that existed from my first recusal marked on May 5th remain, and I am unable to define the conflict publicly. And a conflict wall should be granted by the AG's office. Thank you.
Okay. Any other board comments? Thank you. All right. Future meeting dates of the State Board of Education are scheduled for, we have a work session Wednesday, May 20th, 2026 at 9:30 a.m. Tuesday, June 9th, 2026 at 9:30 a.m. There is no meeting in the month of July. And then we have a meeting on Tuesday, August 11th, 2026 at 9:30 a.m. If there's any topics that board members would like to recommend for future agenda, please let myself or Ms. Evans know. Thank you for everyone for coming, and I hope you have a great rest of the week, and hopefully the weather continues to get better. Take care. Drive safe. Meeting is adjourned at 3:28.